Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Flame Emperor episode number 478 based on novel. So let's start. The light and shadow were like shuttles, and the four of them crossed the dazzling passage together and stepped into the fairyland. The dazzling intense light flickered, and after resting, it stood on a vast expanse of void. Looking slowly, at the end of the line of sight, there were countless vague city outlines, and the countless city outlines together formed a grand blueprint like a wild beast. Appeared in the line of sight, making the body slightly touched. After carefully sensing the past, in these cities, there are a lot of powerful auras and habitats, which is awe-inspiring. Immortal realm, it's here. Looking at this place in the sky and the earth, Xiao Yan's eyes gradually became hot. The paradise of pharmacists is obviously a rare treasure for those who have been working hard to study medicine refining technology, but have been trapped in the 8th rank. More importantly, Xiao Yan heard Yarrow Wanwan said that refining is similar to 8th rank. If you can add some rare things to the medicinal pills of the rank, then the improvement of the quality and potency of medicinal pills will be an unprecedented horror. All the medicinal materials needed for the reincarnation pill have been prepared, but this level of pill is used to devour the third highest ranked holy flame on the holy flame list. Xiao Yang does not dare to slack off, it can enhance the quality of the pill. Why not do it? Gently flying in the void of this immortal world, a fragrant scent hits the nose, and even some cranes and birds are entrenched from time to time. Iran is not the same as the human world. People and nature here are really harmonious. Zuna looked at these cranes, and she was slightly surprised. This kind of paradise is really yearning. The ancient cities are all located between huge peaks and mountains. At first glance, they stand like a creeping beast. They can be roughly divided into dozens of huge cities. But at this time, above a dozen cities, there is a flickering of an extremely rich energy barrier, and there are some patrolling guards at the barrier's light mouth, who are carefully checking the passing personnel. The crowds in dozens of cities were turbulent, and that huge crowd was much more tyrannical than Xiao Yang used to participate in the grand ceremony of the Endless Fire Domain Medicine Clan. What a terrifying handwriting. Just this kind of formation and the number of powerhouses contained in it, I am afraid that other than the human world, other realms are basically incomparable to it. Xiao Yi glanced at the past, and in the cities protected by the barrier, a terrifying aura that made her heart palpitate came out. Those auras were not comparable to those of the fire elves, not to mention the supreme beings in the center of the fairy world. Exist. Let's go. Find a city to settle down first, and plan things later. The trip to the immortal world is not only about the alchemy meeting, but there are also some things that need to be dealt with. Xiao Yang shook his head and led a few people towards a nearby city. Strange, there seem to be some ancient palaces in the fringes of these dozens of cities, and I always feel that there is some obscure atmosphere there. At the moment of moving, Xiao Yang probed back and forth, but looked at some illusory palaces hidden in the edge area, and the fluctuations contained in them were even more tyrannical and outrageous. Welcome to the immortal realm for 3 days. This is Taishushan, Zishi City. Please show your identification. Just came to the edge of the energy barrier, the well-trained soldier asked with a serious look. In order to maintain such a huge border event, this kind of investigation is essential. Although it cannot eliminate all suspicious persons, it is also quite useful. Then, Zuna naturally came forward in these matters, and Xiao Yang didn't need to worry about it at all. After all, as the mistress of Endless Fire Territory, she had to carry things such as identification with her. Endless Fire Territory? Taking the quaint scroll in Zuna's hand, the guard soldiers frowned, and even a shrewd man among the guards exclaimed, "What, is there a problem?" Zuna blinked and looked at the people here with some doubts. It seems that their expressions have become strange since they saw the words Endless Fire Territory. No problem. No problem. Everyone please. In a few days, waiting for the outsiders in the city to be nearly saturated, the Lord of the city will personally lead you to the Alchemy Temple to participate in the Alchemy meeting. If your excellency is a pharmacist, you will naturally be able to shine at the Alchemy Conference. Even if you accompany those who come to visit and communicate, there are many precious treasures in Taishushan. Taking 1 or 2 satisfactory treasures is also a good thing. A good thing. After the conversation between the few people ended, they immediately passed through the energy barrier and walked towards the imposing city, but Xiao Yang, from beginning to end, seemed to be paying attention to the person who looked strange just now. Brother Xiao Yang? The light surged, and everyone came to the square in the city in an instant, and the scene of the crowd was chaotic for a time. You guys go find a place to stay first. I found something suspicious. I'll come when I go. After Xiao Yang finished speaking, the breath all over his body suddenly converged, and he immediately turned into a shadow and fell into the shadows, as if following someone. This kind of trick is naturally obtained from Xiao Zifan's Fireguard master. Now, unless his strength exceeds the triple reincarnation level, he will not be able to detect Xiao Yang's trace. Strange, no one is following me. In front of Zuna and the others, they calmly settled down in the city. Suddenly, a figure quietly emerged from the dark corner. Looking at the people who were leaving, he shook his head slightly. This guy is naturally one of the weird guards just now. Forget it, let's report the situation first. Endless fire territory, sword territory, these are forces that need special care. As soon as he finished speaking, the man walked towards the city's fortified city lord's mansion step by step. Strange. The aura in this guy's body clearly has the taste of a foreign evil clan, but looking at this appearance, it doesn't seem to be the details of the foreign evil clan. Although this guy is perfect in concealing his aura, with Xiao Yang's keen sense of smell and judgment, he can see through it at a glance. Big brother, can you buy me a locust flower cake? Just when Xiao Yang appeared, shook his head and prepared to go back to meet according to Zuna's breath, a soft and sweet voice sounded from behind Xiao Yang. Turning his head to look, this is an extremely delicate little girl, with a pair of big watery eyes that are particularly moving. The most eye-catching thing is that there are some faint lines on the center of this little girl's eyebrows. The lines are as bright as stars and moons, and although they are faint, they are real. Yueru? Looking at the mysterious star and moon pattern between the eyebrows of this little girl, Xiao Yang recalled a figure that had been dusty in his mind for a long time. In order to suppress her father's illness, the girl who spent countless efforts to seek a doctor seemed to have parted ways in Shenling continent and had not seen each other for a long time. Xiao Yang vaguely remembered that the girl's name was Yueru, and it was said that she was a reincarnator or a patron of the Moon God Palace. With that status, in today's immortal world, she was still ranked as a tyrannical existence. As for the other Penglai Fairyland and Yarokai Fairyland, and even the center of the Fairyland, they now appear to be quiet together. Big brother? The little girl stretched out her hand and tugged at the corner of Xiao Yang's clothes tremblingly, and asked in a blink of an eye. He secretly ran out of the Moon God Palace to play, but the aura of the big brother in front of him seemed to match some of the auras of the elder sister in the palace, and this was the scene of the little girl moving forward. Otherwise, if you were an ordinary human being, the little guy would definitely not behave like this. Fine. Xiao Yang reached out and touched the girl's forehead, and immediately took this guy to the back of the busy city, apparently to buy Osmanthus cakes. What a strange big brother. The faint voice sounded, but it was only a small episode in Zishi City. Before parting, Xiao Yang still knew the name of this little girl, Yu Qi, and as for other information, he knew nothing. After parting, Xiao Yang followed the hidden aura left by Zuna and the others, and just arrived at the station. Not long after that, violent spatial fluctuations surged in the city, and dazzling silver splendor spurted out with bursts of strong light. The terrifying energy fluctuations that made the heart throbbing, it is obvious that a big man came from the void. A big man is coming. The four of them converged. Xiao Yang was in a courtyard in the city, looked up at the distorted void above the sky, and said in shock. There were violent spatial fluctuations in the space passage. A snow-white chariot driven by several pale-white alien beasts burst out with a crisp sound of phoenix and roaring from the sky, accompanied by a very peaceful and warm sound. The scent is warm. Void immortal origin beast. It is said that this kind of fairy beast is unique to the Yarokai Fairyland. It is a mysterious fairy beast that can break through the void. Only some big people can enjoy it in the Fairyland. I don't know which big person is coming. There seems to be a shadow in the car. In the whole city, countless fiery gazes looked at Che Luan above the sky together, and the shock could not be added. Being able to own such a mount in the fairy world is undoubtedly a double proof of identity and strength. Void immortal origin beast. A genius in the last 3 days. Hearing the countless exclamations in the city, Xiao Yang frowned. Similar to this immortal beast, although the attack power is almost inexhaustible, it is superior in rarity and extraordinary ability, and it is indeed the first choice of some strong sects. It seems that in this Zishi city, there are also a few rather weak auras hidden. Princess Chen stretched out her eyes and glanced away at the huge realm around her, a few faint breaths that made her quite concerned. Xiao Yang from Endless Fire Territory, Dan Chen from Dan Men, can you two take a step to talk? At the moment when everyone hesitated, a graceful figure slowly stepped out from the chariot above the snow-white fairy beast, and the figure of Yang Ting was really eye-catching. The people of the Fairyland have been immortals since ancient times, and even the women in the Fairyland, like fairies, have some immaculate atmosphere, and now this mysterious woman who has emerged from the chariot has just appeared, which caused an uproar. Yarokai Wonderland? Fairy Yarokai? As the shadows fell, illusory crane shadows suddenly flickered around him, indescribably quiet and soft, and exclamations and cheers sounded from below. Brother Xiao Yang? Zuna frowned, obviously worried about Xiao Yang. Don't worry, the relationship between Penglai Fairyland, Yarokai Fairyland, and Taishushan is good. Now that Fairy Yarokai has entered Taishushan, I'm afraid something happened in the past 3 days. Princess Qianqin looked at Fairy Yarokai, who was riding on the chariot above the sky, and shook her head. Even though this guy's aura was protected by a mysterious force, his eyes were locked on the 2 people in the city just after he appeared. It seems that this guy, the purpose of this trip is for Xiao Yang and the guy named Dan Chen. I don't know, Your Excellency. Xiao Yang's eyes turned and he said with some doubts. I want something. Fairy Yarokai was also indifferent and spoke directly. Go. Xiao Yang and a thin-faced man in the crowd looked at each other, their bodies slowly lifted into the air, and they followed behind Fairy Yarokai, stepping into the void, seemingly heading to some extremely mysterious place. The trip to the Fairyland doesn't seem to be as calm as it appears on the surface. Under the calm, is it a sign of a turbulent dark tide? Zuna and the others looked at this situation and could only shake their heads helplessly. They were living in the courtyard, collecting some news about this trip to the Immortal World Medicine Pill Society, and waiting for Xiao Yang to return. After all, they looked at Fairy Yaoch's posture. Obviously not a trivial matter. Xiao Yang and Dan Chen followed Fairy Yarokai together, but they couldn't see the full appearance of Chenying in front of her. After all, the latter was full of ancient restrictions, and even her face was covered by a veil. There seems to be something weird in her body. While rushing on the road, the source of holy flame in Xiao Yang's body slowly began to beat. You too, don't be impatient. Fairy Yarokai above Chailwan gently opened her lips, but her voice was soft and weak, which made people feel pity and love. Hey bro, what is this? Seeing this, Dan Chen couldn't help shaking his head and asked Xiao Yang. Although Dan Chen's strength is only at the first level of reincarnation, the refining technology is at the rank of 8th grade earth pills. This kind of strength and refining technology are placed in the entire Great Thousand World, and it is enough to be treated with respect by countless people. However, now, in front of Fairy Yarokai, there is actually a feeling of being ashamed. Even compared to Xiao Yang, there are also countless feelings of self-confidence emerging, which is really a strange thing. Otherwise, with their current level of strength and medicine refining skills, the pride in their hearts will definitely be hard to hide. I don't know, I can only wait and see. Xiao Yang shrugged helplessly, and the 2 of them could only put their eyes on Fairy Yarokai at the same time. It is really a last resort to disturb the 2 of you, but the place we are going to this trip is the Yarokai Immortal Realm, one of the 3 days in the Immortal Realm. As for the specific matters after the Yarokai Immortal Realm, we will naturally meet with you. You tell. After a deep voice, looking at the 2 figures with puzzled faces around her, Fairy Yarokai bit the corner of her mouth slightly, and after hesitating, she decided to reveal some relevant news first. Yarokai Wonderland? When Dan Chen and Xiao Yang heard this, their pupils shrank slightly. They came here to participate in the alchemy pill meeting organized by the Alchemy Temple. How could they be taken away by the people from the Yarokai Fairyland? Don't worry, it won't take up your time for the alchemy pill meeting, and there is still a lot of time before the alchemy pill meeting starts. This time, we have something to ask for in Yarokai Wonderland. Whether it is successful or not, there will be a heavy thank you. With a leisurely smile, the space channel around Fairy Yaoch's body became illusory, and an extremely bright starry sky seemed to fall from the 9 heavens, causing the 2 of them to have a rare daze in their hearts. According to legend, Yarokai Wonderland, one of the most famous sacred places in Dakian world, what kind of existence is that? The 3 days of the Fairyland are vast, especially the Yarokai Fairyland, one of the 3 days, with a mysterious location. It is said to be located in a towering cloud fairyland, which is fascinating. Even with the leadership of Fairy Jade Lake, and the terrifying speed of Chailwan, it took nearly a day for everyone to reach the so-called fairy realm of Jade Lake. The whole snow-white world makes people think about it. Above the sky, a huge Karlwan fairy beast drives 3 figures to shuttle through the clouds, and the sound of breaking wind resounds through the sky. After a long time, an ancient and solemn building group poured into the sight among. Looking around, in the distance is a rolling mountain range. Above the landline is a huge lake and pool that surrounds the whole world. The majestic mountains seem to come from 9 days away. Rare tranquility. The huge complex of buildings standing on the mountains and lakes is the so-called Yarokai Wonderland. There are several quiet palaces emerging above the Yarokai Wonderland, and there are giant stones with sharp hammers standing above them, with magnificent colors, and the lakes and ponds below are as quiet as a mirror. Lingyun bell stones can be seen everywhere. It seems to be the standard configuration of Yarokai Fairyland, and it seems to absorb the essence of heaven and earth, which seems to contain some extremely pure and rich power. A drop of crystal silver and antimony water dripped from the sky, setting off the entire Yarokai Fairyland like a real fairyland. This is Yarokai Wonderland. Those things, called Lingyun Zhongsha, absorb the essence of heaven and earth all day long, condense a drop in 100 years, and continuously pour the jade pond. After countless years of pouring and filtering, the entire jade pond appears pure and flawless. Tian Shui has refining effects since ancient times, and it is extremely clean. It is spread throughout the entire jade pond, so people with evil powers cannot step into this place. Seeing the arrival at the destination, Fairy Yarokai above Chaeluan looked at the palaces floating above Yarokai with respect and awe. The power of holy flame has covered the demon power in my body. Xiao Yang nodded. Naturally he could sense the peaceful and classical atmosphere of this world. Let's go, too. The Virgin has been waiting for you for a long time. As soon as the voice fell, everyone turned into a ray of light and poured into the Jade Pool Temple. It seems that it's not just the two of us who have been invited. But it's really strange to invite so many alchemists in this Yarokai Wonderland, which has always been isolated from the world. Listening to his tone, Dan Chen, who was accompanying him, shook his head and fell into it together. In the Jade Pool Temple, the whole body is surrounded by a brilliant brilliance, and several kinds of cranes and beasts can be seen everywhere in the temple. Obviously the atmosphere of people and nature here is excellent. With a sound, the door of the main hall was gently pushed open, and the two pale, but arrogant old men were already standing in the hall of the temple. With the arrival of everyone, the hall continued to be quiet. As for Xiao Yang, he closed his eyes and rested, because now Fairy Yarokai is also at ease together, as if waiting for someone. Hihi, Fairy Yarokai, although we know that you are in a hurry because of that incident, but the process of refining medicine is not comparable to your age and skill in refining medicine. Finding some juniors at random will only add to the trouble. The two looked at each other and looked at the bodies of Xiao Yang and Dan Chen. It was very easy to determine their strength and age. They couldn't help but snorted coldly. Both of them are about the reincarnation rank. Although their strength is weak, the pharmacists are all at the 8th rank holy rank, and because they have been pharmacists for thousands of years, they naturally have some advantages in age and experience. Now looking at Xiao Yang when the two arrived, they couldn't help but feel the same enemy. This time, they came to the fairyland of Yarokai. Naturally, they were entrusted by the fairy of Yarokai in front of them, but they didn't think that Xiao Yang and the two could do anything. Hehe, what this senior said is very. However, in the process of refining medicine, there is no distinction between young and old. I believe that a few of you know better than us. Xiao Yang stepped forward gently and immediately smiled. Who do you think you are? When the old man started refining medicine pills, you didn't know where it was. Tiny boy. The two old men were dressed in white and black clothes, and they were already arrogant. Listening to Xiao Yang's words, the old man in white hurriedly roared. It's just two old guys who are fighting against people. It's not enough for me to be afraid of your medicine refining skills that you have not reached the 8th level heaven level. Seeing the sudden fierce words of the white-clothed old man, Xiao Yang slowly opened his eyes, and an invisible energy ripple surged out like a tide. The power released by the soul force actually shook the entire hall slowly. If it wasn't for Xiao Yang to keep his hand strong, I am afraid that the lives of these two old men would be in jeopardy. After all, Xiao Yang's soul power is not what it used to be. This guy. The expressions of the two old men were startled, and their eyelids twitched violently. With the arrogance of a pharmacist, how could they have been bullied like this? The white-clothed old man looked around and found that Fairy Yarokai closed her eyes and rested her mind, ignoring it at all. Immediately, her figure moved, flashing out like lightning, bursts of fiery red flames gushing out from her palm, and under her delicate control, it turned into a short energy handle. The blade, held in his hand, stabbed towards Xiao Yang's throat. The short blade is sharp, and a slight swing is enough to split the throat apart. Senior, if you don't show up now, I'm afraid there will be rivers of blood here. A mere sage level 8th level earth level pharmacist. If you kill it, you will also kill it. Xiao Yang didn't show any signs of doing anything, he just spoke slightly towards the dark passage at the back of the hall. His voice seemed extremely peaceful, but it was full of irresistible majesty. The strength of the double reincarnation stage. The Lord of the Endless Fire territory is indeed as fierce as the rumors say. No, he even surpasses many legends in the Great Thousand World. When I see it today, it really lives up to its reputation. Suddenly, a fragrant fragrance spread out from the back of the hall, and a slim and beautiful woman in Xingyi walked out like a lotus. Yarokai Wonderland. Yarozhu Immortal Envoy. The bodies of the two old men froze in place in an instant, and then they looked at this beautiful woman without any fluctuations in vindictiveness, and a shock emerged. Yarozhu Immortal Envoy. This guy is the right-hand man of the Lady of Yarokai in the Yarokai Wonderland. His strength is impossible to guess. Sending Fairy Yarokai to invite the four here is not to compete for these. This is Yarokai Wonderland. I hope the two of you will be more restrained. Yarozhu Xian glanced indifferently at the black and white old man in the distance, and spoke lightly. Senior, now rushing to invite us to Yarokai Fairyland, it will definitely not be for no reason. I hope the seniors make it clear. Dan Chen nodded at Xiao Yang, and he was quite impressed. I don't know, everyone. Have you ever heard of the Saint Flame ranking in the Great Thousand World? Immortal Biju's eyes suddenly looked at Fairy Yarokai in the hall, and there was a rare worry in her eyes. I don't know, please clarify. Xiao Yang also nodded, although he had some guesses, he still asked aloud. This time, the four people are invited to come here, mainly to solve some residual problems of the 26th ranked Holy Flame and Pure Spirit Immortal Flame in the Holy Flame list. The faint voice sounded, but it was in the minds of the four figures, setting off a monstrous wave. Sacred Flame ranked 26th on the Holy Flame list, Pure Spirit Fairy Flame? Dan Chen, who was on the side, was slightly surprised when he heard the words. Although this Holy Flame was not ranked very high, it had a miraculous effect when combined with some secret techniques in Yarokai. It is said that the power of this Holy Flame is not small, but since the First World War, it has disappeared. I never thought that it would be included in the Yarokai Fairyland. The old man in white spoke tremblingly, although his heart was extremely hot, but he did not dare to show any greed. What kind of power is Yarokai Wonderland? There have been countless rumors in the Great Thousand Worlds. It is said that the master of the Yarokai Fairyland, the Lady of Yarokai, is the most powerful person in the center of the Fairyland, but later broke away from the center of the Fairyland and independently opened up the current Yarokai Fairyland. Just from this point of view, the overall strength of Yarokai Wonderland is comparable to that of the Fire Elves, and even surpasses the Fire Elf. Although the power behind the white-clothed old man is tyrannical, it is far from reaching the peak power level in the Great Thousand World, so as long as he is not a complete idiot, naturally he will not show greed in the Yarokai Temple. The arrogance of a pharmacist is completely lost in the face of absolute strength. Pure Spirit Immortal Flame. Xiao Yang murmured slightly in his heart, but he had no other emotions. Today's self, the Holy Flame swallowed must be in the top 6 or so, otherwise it will not have any boosting effect, although the formidable effects of the Holy Flames are completely different. However, Xiao Yang was also a little curious. On the Dochi continent, 23 kinds of Holy Flames were merged into Emperor Flames, and the road to the Emperor was achieved. Today, the 36 Holy Flames in the Great Thousand World are powerful and powerful. It is far more tyrannical than Dochi continent. Even Xiao Yang today cannot rush into swallowing all the Holy Flames. Although Fenju is tyrannical, Xiao Yang always feels that its limit is that it cannot carry the power of the fusion of the 36 kinds of Holy Flames. For this reason, Xiao Yang is extremely curious. That Holy Flame ranks second on the list, even without anyone. What kind of divine artifact is the number 1 Holy Flame, you know? If you can obtain that kind of divine artifact, reincarnation order, and battle across the ranks, it will be like walking on the ground. Even given time, there is a slim chance to covet the legendary battle god realm. Yaroling, tell what happened. Immortal Yarozhu looked at the stunned expressions of the 4 people in front of her. Without the slightest hesitation, she nodded lightly to Fairy Yarokai in front of her. Fairy Yarokai nodded slightly, and then gently took off the tulle, revealing a perfect face like the perfect masterpiece of God, and at the same time lifted the restrictions on her whole body, and her entire body was revealed. Yarokai Fairy, Yaroling, has long black hair scattered on her shoulders, showing a slightly delicate beauty, and her white skin is as delicate as Puu, and she can squeeze out water with a slight pinch. She is wearing a light blue dress. The outline of his posture is extremely perfect. But Rao is in such a fairy posture, but the face is slightly pale and weak, and there is a trace of turquoise flames wafting out from time to time on the delicate body. The presence. Sure enough, it was devoured by holy flames. Before Fairy Yarokai could speak, Xiao Yang saw through the predicament the latter was facing at a glance, and said sharply, "The power of the holy flame can be learned from the world, but to devour this kind of heaven and earth fetish, it requires a lot of luck and strength, and with the help of many medicinal herbs, there is such a chance." Judging from Xiao Yang's experience in swallowing so many holy flames, Fairy Yaoch's situation is obviously a failure to swallow holy flames, resulting in a lot of hidden diseases. This situation is not a good thing. Oh! Just after Xiao Yang finished speaking, Fairy Yarozhu stared at Xiao Yang with a surprised expression. Being able to determine his own situation from some clues on his body, this Lord of the Endless Fire territory is indeed extraordinary. As you said, her injuries and dark illnesses were indeed caused by holy flames. I couldn't swallow the holy flame rashly, but it was backlashed by it, and I was tortured all day long. The four are high-level pharmacists of the 8th rank holy rank. I wonder if there is any good way to eradicate them. Whether it is successful or not, Yarokai Wonderland will definitely be grateful. Yaro Zhuxian asked the four of them out loud, and the faint soft power was transmitted throughout the hall, which was quite peaceful. Yaro Ling on the side cast her eyes at Xiao Yang with autumn water. If it wasn't for Xiao Yang's extraordinary determination, I'm afraid it would be extremely easy to be tricked. Even so, Xiao Yang couldn't help shivering. There is a way, but there is no absolute. You need to prescribe the right medicine. Xiao Yang smiled and said he was going to shoot directly, but looking at the guys with ulterior motives around him, he immediately hesitated. Humph. Immortal envoys, don't listen to other people's words indiscriminately. The Sacred Flames Backlash is a major event, and it should not be sloppy. Let me check it out so that we can find the right medicine. The black and white old man looked at each other and said at the same time, "Everyone, please." After speaking slowly, Xiao Yang stepped aside without saying a word. The problem of Shenyang's backlash is no trivial matter. Xiao Yang doesn't think they have a way to solve it, and these annoying flies are really annoying. Then trouble the three of you. Yaro Ling's figure Yang Ting approached the three figures, trying her best to explain some of the situation in her body. This guy seems very confident. The immortal Yarozhu next to him looked at Xiao Yang, who was not shocked, and smiled lightly. 3. Is there a cure? The two black and white old men and Dan Chen were attached to Fairy Yarokai, but they did not speak after a long time. Instead, after Yaro Ling explained her situation, her face was extremely ugly. Although the ranking of this holy flame is not high, under the nourishment of such huge forces as Yarokai Wonderland, the power of the flame has already reached a terrifying level. Is it okay to let it go? After a while, Xiao Yang opened his eyes and had a look at Yaro Ling's location. You. The two old men in black and white roared with gritted teeth. Since you are unable to heal, let's see you off. I'm a person who heals a dark disease, but I don't want others to learn from it. Eyes and soul power stayed on Yao Ling's body for a while, so they said to the three people on the opposite side, "Come here, send the three adults back, and try to meet some requirements." Immortal Yarozhu narrowed his eyes, shook his head a moment later and called to the back of the hall. A black shadow flashed out and led them out of here. "Little guy, now, can we start?" After doing all this, Yarozhu Xianjian just stared at Xiao Yang carefully. "Senior should sense the holy flame in my body, right?" Xiao Yang seems to have thought of a solution for a long time, and his breathing is betrayed. "But I don't think you fairies of Yarokai seem to be sincere," Xiao Yang said without a smile. As soon as Xiao Yang's voice fell, Fairy Yaoch's face instantly turned pale, and even Yaro Lingxian on the side made a look of consternation on her face. Why did the little guy say this? Immortal Yarozhu regained her strong posture after a while, and then asked with a frown, "Senior, do you still want to hide it now? The sequelae of the Holy Flame's backlash are not trivial. The longer it drags on, the greater the damage to the controller. And based on the guesses of the younger generation, the situation of Fairy Yarokai can be seen at a glance, and it is not a problem of Holy Flame backlash at all. According to my estimation, it should be some hidden dangers left after forcibly taking risks to swallow holy flames. I don't know what the younger generation said, is it correct?" Xiao Yang turned to look at Yaro Ling, who was silent, his eyes wandering over the two of them. Not to mention the entire Yarokai Wonderland, even in the entire Great Thousand World, there are probably few people who are more aware of the many dangers of holy flames than Xiao Yang. Swallowing and subduing the 5 holy flames is the most powerful evidence. As expected, he is the master of the holy flame, he has a keen sense of smell. Yaro Ling, Since Lord Xiao has already noticed it, let's tell the whole story. I hope Lord Xiao you can try his best. Yarozhu Immortal Envoy looked at Xiao Yang with admiration. Since Yaroling swallowed the holy flame, even though countless strong people came to investigate, no one was as sharp as Xiao Yang. And in the past 3 days, the strong man who was able to cure this intractable disease has been in the dark all day long, so it has been delayed. But he also has a holy flame in his body. Once he gets close to me, the holy flame in my body will burst out with a very frightening aura. I'm worried. Yaroling Dai's eyes wrinkled, and she was a little afraid of the mutual restraint relationship between holy flames, because the swallowing of holy flames in her body was not complete. Don't worry, this is Yarokai Wonderland. Although Yarozhu Immortal Envoy was worried, but after weighing it, she could only speak. The dark disease that has plagued Yaroling has been too long, and both her strength and root cause have been limited too much. The future of this girl. Xiao Yang looked at the two people who were talking like no one in the field, and couldn't help but have black lines all over their heads, but he could hear some tricks from the conversation between the two. The overall strength of Yarokai Wonderland is indeed tyrannical. Even if Xiao Yang has the intention to this holy flame, I am afraid that he will not be able to retreat. Even with the help of the many powers of the devil and the god-killing ruler, of course, a mere ranking of Saint Yang outside the top 20 was not enough for Xiao Yang to spend so much trouble. Although the holy flame of Yarokai Fairyland is precious, I have holy flame anyway. If Fairy Yarokai hadn't brought me here rashly, I'm afraid. Xiao Yang still decided to explain. After all, Yarokai Fairyland is a rare righteous force. Even if it is impossible to make friends, there is no need to make friends. After listening to Xiao Yang's words, the two of them looked at each other just now, and then the entire hall was suddenly filled with bursts of rich-colored halo. When this peaceful atmosphere emerged, the many forces in Xiao Yang's body approached calm. A stubbornness suddenly flashed in Yaroling's eyes, and then the jade hand grabbed her long skirt, and with a bite of her silver teeth, she took off the corner of her clothes slightly, exposing the corner of her back to the air. Xiao Yang took a look at it, but his pupils shrank tightly, as if he saw a very shocking picture. In the hall, with the help of the fluorescent light, Yaroling's clothes were slightly removed from the back of her long dress, revealing a very scary hole. In the black hole, there seems to be a pool of extremely viscous venom. Although it is only the size of a fist, it is like a parasitic beast stuck on the back and an inch below the shoulder. Yaroling's skin is natural, as charming as pure white and flawless jade, but the black hole the size of a fist is particularly disturbing, as if there is some deadly force in it. This is the burning of pure spirit fairy flame, and it is caused by anger attacking the heart when swallowing the holy flame. In the hole, there is a shadow of evil spirits. Although that guy's strength is only at the peak of the second-level reincarnation, he is cunning by nature, even we are helpless. Because once you force a shot, I am afraid that this guy will perish together. But after so many years, the roots of Yaroling and so on are all eaten away by it. If it is not resolved, I am afraid. Immortal Yarozhu said bitterly, with a very worried look in her eyes. It's so tricky. Xiao Yang squinted his eyes, raised his palms, bathed in a faint glazed flame, and gently touched the black hole under his shoulders. Humph tilde. Yaroling obviously never had such an intimate scene. When Xiao Yang just approached and touched his body shrank subconsciously, as if he was afraid. Don't be afraid, I just want to determine the exact strength of this guy and the current basic situation. Xiao Yang stretched out his hand to support the retreating Yaroling with a solemn expression. Obviously, at this time, the doctors and parents did not have time to consider other factors. Listening to Xiao Yang's opening, Yaroling tried her best to suppress the restlessness in her body, but with her physical contact with Xiao Yang, Yaroling's heart, who had always had an indifferent expression, unexpectedly sent out bursts of powerful beating. Guru. With a sound, Xiao Yang's palm swept across the black hole with the momentum of thunder, and all the power in the body surged at the same time. Long skirts cover. How's the situation? Seeing how polite Xiao Yang was, Yarozhu Immortal Envoy asked anxiously, not caring about her admiration. The situation is not optimistic, but if Senior can take me to the land of holy flames, I have more than 50% confidence. Xiao Yang's eyes were filled with determination, and he spoke with plausibility. Hope so. If the sequelae can be expelled, Lord Xiao you will always be my eternal ally in Yarokai Wonderland. Yarozhu also nodded and said. It's too early to say that. By the way, Senior, the medicinal materials needed to heal this dark disease. The next moment, Xiao Yang seemed to remember something and looked embarrassed. Don't worry about this, Domain Master Xiao, The Yarokai Wonderland is vast and rich in resources. No matter how precious medicinal herbs you need, just ask. Yarozhu Immortal said with a smile. There was a hint of pride in her speech. These, and this medicinal material. It should be almost there. Xiao Yang circulated the energy in his body and waved it at will, and it turned out to be a glazed flame scroll in the void of the hall, with some obscure medicinal herbs engraved on it. Given the preciousness of those things, if they were placed in the outside world, they would probably be invaluable treasures, but if they were placed in a power like Yarokai Fairyland, it would be nothing more than some accumulated information over the years. Yarrow Ling sorted out her appearance and glanced at Xiao Yang with a complicated look, but she did not speak. He just muttered in his heart in a tone that he could hear. You dare to blackmail Sister Yarozhu. If you fail, you will be beautiful. This video will end here.